The most important number that you need to recognize is that Real Madrid have dropped points at home to Getafe, and you can see that gap, 4 points. In normal leagues, that's not a big deal. In La Liga, that's almost a mountain at this stage because Barcelona don't drop many points, and Real Madrid know that this was an opportunity to close the gap between them, and they have failed in that decision-making process. Yep. Now, I'm going to ask you now, everybody strap yourselves in, because this is where Ian Joy gets paid the big bucks, and this is what he gets paid the big bucks for. So give me your takeaways in terms of this dropped points from Real Madrid at home today.
Well, first and foremost, we got to focus on the positives. Getafe getting that type of a result at the Bernabeu. They haven't won there since 2008, which is ridiculous in itself. And it tells you how magnificent a result like this really is in world football. That was a spectacular performance from a team that were going up against an opponent that didn't have much confidence in front of goal, clearly proven by the miss from Vinicius Jr. earlier on, but had a goalkeeper who actually stood on his head at times in this game. There's no doubt that the goalkeeper, David Soria, took home player of the match. He had 7 massive saves in the game. He was absolutely outstanding in this matchup. But still, Getafe, they knew they needed this result. They needed to get themselves away from relegation zone, sitting now on 32 points. They're actually very comfortable. They're probably not going to make it to a European spot, but they'll be well away from that relegation battle now, which I think this type of result no one would have expected. So congratulations to Getafe for getting that result. It is a team that's Madrid-based, and it's a team that obviously got that result for the first time, as I mentioned already, since 2008. Spectacular. But the dark side of this game is that Real Madrid should have won this game. They should have taken their chances. They should have showed a better performance. More often than not in front of goal, they should have been better in that final third. I think early on, if Vinicius Jr. scores that one, because of the way the game started, they would have absolutely smashed Getafe. They didn't. They missed their opportunity. Then they missed another one from Arda Güler, who obviously pulled out a save from Soria. So I think Real Madrid just need to be a little bit more efficient in front of goal, and you would have seen a different result.
That's the biggest question mark coming out of this one. Why weren't Real Madrid efficient in front of goal? Is it the absence of Kylian Mbappe? Is it as simple as that? The absence of one of the best strikers in world football is why you weren't able to break down a Getafe team that came with a game plan. But let's be honest, they faced more formidable opponents at this year and been looked better.
I mean, there's no doubt that they've played against obviously tougher opponents, especially dealing with multiple competition. But listen, Real Madrid right now are having a very bang average season. They're not consistent. They're dealing with multiple injuries, and they've got a lot to deal with. I don't want to say that it's all Arbeloa's fault, because actually, if I look at the starting 11 they put out with in this game, there's a lot of players who are in that starting 11 who are probably going in the wrong direction as far as quality in their career. So I just don't think that realistically we can sit here and say, Arbeloa, you take responsibility for this result. I think the players have to hold responsibility. They started an 18-year-old alongside Tchouaméni in midfield. Very brave to make that decision. It's nice to see him start in midfield. But the experience of Alaba, Rudiger, Alexander-Arnold, Valverde, I would even throw Vinicius Jr. into that category, should have been enough to take care of business against Getafe. Now, if you look at the starting 11, how many of them would you say is actually having a good season, Jaydee?
Not many. I think Valverde is having a standard season, but even for the standards that he's given, because let's be honest, he's been in a conversation as arguably one of the best players in the world. It's still a decline from where he's been, and that's only because of the standards that he set for himself. Tchouaméni had a great performance the other day in his individual performance. How consistent have we seen of that? We're not too sure. I feel for players like, especially Gonzalo, because he doesn't really get that many minutes. It's kind of difficult to be thrusted into a situation when you're replacing arguably the most influential forward in world football right now in Kylian Mbappe, but there's just not enough individual performances. And look at the frustration, Ian. Look at the numbers. Look at the head down. Look at the trajectory. Look at the end. And this seems like it's a common theme for Real Madrid. It's one thing being good winners, but they seem like they're awful losers this year. And that tells me more about their mentality inside of the changing room.
Well, what does it tell you about the individual and how they're performing, right? They're quite, in my personal opinion, lacking in performance, lacking in consistency, can't quite reach the standards that they once set as players at Real Madrid. And it's the players who have been at the football club and won already at Real Madrid that I'm probably pointing the finger at, who have gone in the wrong direction. Vinicius Jr. most recently has been the one who's standing on his head and performing very well and obviously doing a great job. But if you look at some of the other players who are not performing well, you can't say Tchouaméni's going in the right direction.
Nope.
He's going backwards. Camavinga, being inconsistent, making mistakes, going backward. I know he's injured, but whatever. Rudiger, he looks like a completely different player this season. He sort of lost his composure. Rodrigo as well, another player who I think is going in the wrong direction, not putting up the numbers that they should do, certainly not putting up the performance that they do. I could add so many more, and even some of the newcomers. Mastantuono picked up a red card in the game today. He was shocking, non-existent in this game, not bringing a top-class performance. Valverde, you said, okay, he's on the safe side of his season. He was brilliant in the last years. I actually think he's taken a massive step backwards as well. So there's 2-3 players who really need to step up and actually lead this team forward and push them into the right direction that are actually the ones to blame for this type of a result. I think Real Madrid this season are bang average. They're nowhere near good enough. I actually had them going through in my bracket. I've already chosen my bracket, so I'm not going to chase it. Against Manchester City, I have Real Madrid to go through. The history, obviously, they're a team that has a great possibility of winning home games in that fabulous arena. And yeah, they've won the competition more than anybody else. But even in this game, if you look at the final 10 minutes of this game, Real Madrid at home against Getafe, how many shots do you think they had on target between the minute 80 and the minute 90 at home losing 1-0? How many shots on target? None! Real Madrid at home. I could almost put money on it that Real Madrid would win that game in previous years. What is this Real Madrid? I have no idea who they are, what they are, how good they are, and I don't think this guy's to blame. I blame the hierarchy for making changes with Xabi Alonso being booted out the door. The players have to take responsibility, Jaydee. You know as well as I do. Players made Xabi Alonso leave that football club. At some point, we got to start looking at the players. If you're not good enough to play for this club, get out the door. And I think we're leaning towards that direction very quickly.
I'm going to tell you now how I know that Ian is super upset about today's performance. Not only the passion that you're hearing from his voice, but also the fact that he's given me a preview into his bracket, which he promised me he wouldn't do in the pre-production meeting. So that lets me know, first of all, I know who you're putting through.
Yep.
But then secondly, also, that tells me about the passion level. So I'm going to ask the question that a lot of Real Madrid fans want to know. Do they win a trophy this year? That's the important part.
No.
Do you see anything, any sort of positives, even the return potentially of Mbappe? Do you see them lifting any silverware this year?
They were pretty embarrassing, I thought, in the Supercopa de España. I thought they could have been better in that game. They had their opportunities, certainly, to win that game. Not good enough. Copa del Rey, embarrassing defeat against an opponent that obviously made it difficult. It was a cracking game. But losing to Albacete in a competition you should probably go and win because there's no guarantees that you're going to win La Liga. Barcelona haven't been at their best and handed the opportunity to Real Madrid to run away with the La Liga title. And Real Madrid still don't want to win La Liga title. They want to hand it back to Barcelona. So what is their focus? Is their focus on the Champions League? Because if you look at that type of a performance from Real Madrid, actually when I look at Real Madrid all season long, they've been so inconsistent, haven't relied on Vinicius Jr. being the man. And if he's not the man, it's Kylian Mbappe. And what do you do when Mbappe's not in the team and Vinicius Jr. is not stepping up? Absolutely no one else is stepping up in that group. In my personal opinion, they are missing leaders at that team. They don't have it. There's no Luka Modric anymore to rely on to be able to unlock defences.
No Toni Kroos.
There's no Toni Kroos to see a pass that nobody else in the world can see. Who are you relying on? Valverde playing right fullback at times? Come on. Trent Alexander's come into the door and he's been nowhere near the player he was at Liverpool Football Club. Some of the additions to the team, even Carreras on the left-hand side, has gone kind of backwards with his performances. You can't rely on Courtois to save your day. You just simply can't. And today you couldn't rely on Vinicius Jr. to be the man. It needs to be the whole team collectively, and this is not a team this year. This is a team of failing individuals.
Phil, it'll be a waste of your insight and your talent if I didn't ask you about what happened tonight in Real Madrid. Oh my gosh. Let's take a deep breath, and I can only imagine what the headlines are going to be tomorrow, but just tell me your biggest takeaways from Getafe's win.
I think, oh my gosh, is a very good way just to sum it up. I think this is possibly the worst performance of the season from Real Madrid in a season of really, really bad performances. And this has just got me wondering, you know, the loss to Celta Vigo was 2-0. It was at the start of December, and that is said to be the night where the hierarchy decided this Xabi Alonso project is finished. I've got a strong feeling that this performance tonight against Getafe is when the hierarchy are thinking, okay, Arbeloa until the summer, but then we need something else. And it isn't all Alvaro Arbeloa's fault, as Ian was saying before. It really, really isn't. There's a lot on this on these players, but there hasn't been any kind of difference, any kind of evolution, any kind of improvement since Arbeloa came in. So I think an element of responsibility does lie with the coach, but this was just a sort of next level clueless performance from Real Madrid. They did nothing. They didn't know what to do. They genuinely didn't know what to do with the ball. And as we said it before, they're not a good team. They're not a good team. They're a team with
Who's at
some
fault
really
for that, though,
sensational
Phils?
individuals.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm going to do it anyway. Who's at fault for that? I mean, if you're looking at the hierarchy making a decision like that, which is it's just amazing to me that you're saying it, but I do believe that you're right, that change will happen, that he's just not the guy, right? The players are not responding. I kind of want to blame the players because I'm seeing lackluster performances. But who is it? Is it team selection? Is it the players who are coming in through the door? Is it the character? Are they lacking leadership? I mean, what is it that's wrong with this Real Madrid? Why are they in this position?
All of that, what you said, and also the planning of the squad was wrong in its inception. They don't have the right players in the right positions, and that could have been seen and foreseen in the summer, but it wasn't. They don't really have a director of football, so it's not as if somebody's job it is to try and sort of manage these kind of signings and make sure that the squad is assembled and balanced. This feels like a very unbalanced squad. But look at the 11 that was put out tonight. It should have been good enough to overcome Getafe and a number of players and a number of teams that they've lost against. It's difficult to put your finger on it, but it is a combination of all these things and the lack of ideas, the lack of intensity is something that the Real Madrid fans do not excuse. They do not excuse that kind of performance. This was an unacceptable first half performance against Getafe tonight. And we've seen this against Levante. We've seen it against Rayo. We've seen it against Celta Vigo, all home games for Real Madrid, which they were absolutely abysmal in. And there's been no improvement over the last 4 months. So the players here have to bear a lot of the blame, but it's not just the players, it is the coach and it is the hierarchy as well. And when I say the hierarchy, it's basically Jose Angel Sanchez and Florentino Perez who are making the decisions at Real Madrid, and they've got it wrong this season. They've got it massively wrong.